There's the Dream Team, Redeem Team. What's this team?
The Avengers.
Okay.
The Olympic run that the Avengers put together will be remembered forever in basketball history, and maybe it's recency bias, but this one felt different and just better than any international basketball tournament that I have watched in my lifetime. The competition was the best it's ever been. We got to see Steph Curry in his element on the biggest stage, and it was LeBron's last Olympic appearance and probably Steph's and KD's as well. And given how much he was hyped up for a whole year leading up to it, with the Noah Lyles comments,
"World champion of what?"
and reports about LeBron recruiting guys for the Team USA roster, the Olympics did not disappoint. And this tournament also shined a light on different things that relate to the current state of the NBA, players in the league, and the future of USA basketball. So let's talk about everything we learned from Team USA's Olympic gold medal run. I'd be remiss if I didn't start this video off by talking about Steph Curry, and we'll get to the gold medal game in a second, but what's not talked about enough is the turnaround he had in the tournament. Steph started the Olympics struggling badly, missing 15 of his first 23s in the first 4 games, and he was putting up shooting splits that had him looking like Jamal Murray out there. But in the last 2 games, he turned it around and shot 16 for 27, and that's just from 3-point land. Without his 36-point performance against Serbia, there's no way Team USA wins that game because he literally kept the team afloat when nothing was going in for the US. The score at the end of the first quarter was 23-31, but if Curry's struggles had continued, and if you take out his 17-point first quarter, you see that the score would have been 5-31. And then of course, there was that stretch in the last 2 minutes in the finals against France, which was a reminder of why Curry is arguably the best show in basketball, and without a doubt the greatest shooter that we will ever see in our lifetime. Before that stretch, Team USA had a 3-point lead with less than 3 minutes left in the game, and Steph proceeded to score 12 points with those 4 threes, widening the margin and taking the game away from France. And this was with both KD and LeBron on the court, yet Team USA figured that giving Steph the ball was the best way to put the game to sleep, and he was still getting doubled and shooting 40-foot fadeaways. If that's not the ultimate form of respect in the game, then I really don't know what is. But all that just brings me to my first point, which is that Steph is a legitimate top 10 player of all time, and at this point, it really shouldn't be a debate.
Steph Curry is a top 5 NBA player of all time.
No, he tripping on that. He hasn't cracked my top 10 yet. He just hasn't. To me, if you're that great, if you're going to be a top 5 and one of your guys are missing, you can't make the playoffs, I can't put you in top 5 or top 10. I just can't.
For some reason, people are hesitant to put him in that category of players, probably because he's a 6'3" guard, but we have to understand that he has won at every level and has accomplished everything that's necessary to be considered in that conversation. Steph will be remembered as the greatest shooter of all time and the guy who changed the way the game is played, and he will also be remembered as LeBron's biggest rival, and with LeBron being considered top 2 all time, Steph should be cemented among the top 10 at this point. There are some people who are now talking about him among the top 5, and I don't know how to feel about that one yet, but let me know where you currently have him on your all-time list.
Steph had great games, he had great games, Bron had great games, but Book was like guarding the best player, turning down shots, you know what I mean? Like, cause Book go for 70, like, you know what I mean? So he was like, I ain't gonna lie, I was impressed watching him.
The second thing we learned from this run is that Devin Booker is actually better than many NBA fans thought, and he's the best shooting guard in the league, in my opinion. Going into the Olympics, everybody believed that Anthony Edwards was going to be the starting shooting guard, and the sentiment was that there was just no way he was coming off of the bench for Devin Booker.
We don't have a Kobe.
Who is he going to come off the bench for?
I know, that is crazy.
Nah, they're going to have Booker come off the bench probably.
Oh, yeah.
If Devin Booker start over Ant-Man, that's
nasty work.
But Devin Booker proved to be the better player, and I can say this confidently because with their backs against the wall, Team USA went to the lineup that had Devin Booker instead of Anthony Edwards or Jason Tatum. That's not to say that Edwards doesn't have a higher upside, but at this current moment, Booker is ahead of him both skills-wise and IQ-wise as a player to have on your roster. A bit of Steph Curry's hot shooting in the semifinals and finals can actually be attributed to Devin Booker's play on the court. If you look at the first 3 that sparked Steph Curry's fourth quarter explosion against France, it comes from a Booker drive that collapses the zone, and with Fournier worried about the cutting LeBron, it leaves Steph wide open. Book makes the read, which very few non-point guards can make, and it turns into 3 easy points for Steph. And then on this play in transition against Serbia, He knows Steph is right behind him, and he's already signaling to Jrue Holiday to get the ball to Steph, and instead of looking for his own shot in transition or running to the corner, he's already planning to free up Curry and sets the back screen, which leads to a wide open corner 3, and we know that's like a layup for Steph. A lot of Booker's offensive impact was actually unseen because it came from him seeking high percentage shots for his teammates. Same here, Curry drives in the zone and dishes it out to Booker. He draws the double team and we know how he feels about that, so he swings the ball to Steph for the high percentage 3. And there's a lot more plays like this, but the point is that Booker showed that he's one of the most adaptable superstars in the league, which is what put him ahead of Anthony Edwards and Jason Tatum when it came down to it. Plays like that are the reason why Booker led Team USA in plus-minus, and when he was needed for scoring, he also did that because in the knockout rounds, he was actually the 3rd highest scorer on the team, and he had the highest true shooting percentage on the team, and the 3rd highest true shooting percentage in the whole Olympics. What Devin Booker displayed is that he can play in any system, and he can be effective even on a poor shooting night as well, and that's why I have D-Book as my #1 shooting guard in the NBA. Now, let's talk about Jason Tatum. As crazy as it sounds, another thing we learned from the Olympics is that Tatum still has a lot to prove in the NBA. Did you know that Jason Tatum was the only player on Team USA that made it to the first team All-NBA, yet he collected more DNPs than anybody not named Tyrese Halliburton? Many people criticize Steve Kerr for not playing Tatum, but even when he played, he wasn't good. Tatum finished the Olympics shooting 8 for 21 from the field, but all those shots were layups or dunks. On jump shots specifically, he shot 0 for 16, so there's clearly something off with Tatum's jump shots since the beginning of the playoffs. The coaching staff couldn't put him out there as a floor spacer like we saw with Booker, and he's also not a proven ball handler and playmaker who can make the reads to free up other superstars in a way that someone like Jrue Holiday can. And going back to my point about Devin Booker, Tatum just wasn't great at complementing all the elite players around him. And all those things I just mentioned are exactly why Steve Kerr called it a math problem when he didn't play Tatum in both games against Serbia. But with all that being said, the Tatum disrespect is at an all-time high, and despite winning a championship, he still has a lot to prove to his naysayers. My next video is going to be about this whole situation, so be sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications if you want to hear more about it. The third thing that we learned from the tournament is that the NBA, or more specifically USA basketball, is still a grown man's game, meaning that the torch is still in the hands of older players. This is especially true for Team USA because the NBA has other international stars like Giannis and Jokic who are not too old or too young, but as I touched on in my last video, one of the things that's being talked about more and more in the NBA today is who the next face of the league will be. That's obviously because of all the young talent that's emerging in the league, but it's also because most of the players who have represented the NBA in the past decade or more are all getting closer to retirement. Namely Team USA's big three, with LeBron being 39, Curry 36, and Durant 35. If you remember, going into the Olympics, Anthony Edwards, the youngest player on Team USA, was asked about who the #1 option on the team was, and in pure Ant fashion, he said that it would be him.
I'm still the #1 option. Yeah. I mean, y'all might look at it differently. I don't look at it no differently. Yeah.
And there was actually a real debate about whether he was going to be the guy.
No, I'm talking about scoring wise. There's going to be delegates.
Like he about to have fun.
So they need a young horse. That
Like
horse,
All-Star game.
That horse is going to be Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
Right? He's the only one that has the energy enough to keep going. Everybody's older.
But every time Team USA found themselves in a tight spot, they went to one of their older guys, like we saw in the showcase game against South Sudan. They went to the LeBron layup in the clutch to put the game away, and the same happened in the exhibition game against Germany when LeBron put the USA on his back in the 4th quarter. And in the semifinals against Serbia, it's almost as if Steve Kerr cracked the code on how not to lose, because he ended up running the same 5-man lineup for the whole 4th quarter that once again had 3 older superstars in LeBron, Steph, and KD, along with the supporting cast of Embiid and Booker. And if you think about it, in every situation where Team USA needed a closer, they turned to one of the big three, with the exception of one game when Embiid kind of took over against Serbia. So Team USA basketball is still in the hands of older players, and what that means for the future of the program, I'm not too sure, but I still think that the US will have an advantage just because of its depth even moving forward. But let me know down in the comments if you think that Team USA wins this gold medal with the best American roster that doesn't include the big three. Moving on, it's about time that we begin to refer to Jrue Holiday as a legit future Hall of Famer. Jrue Holiday quietly has one of the most stacked resumes among players in the NBA today, and with this gold medal, his resume just got even more impressive. For the second time, Jrue Holiday just won an Olympic gold medal coming off of an NBA championship, and he played a pivotal role on this team mostly defensively, but in the semifinals and finals, he also averaged nearly 6 assists. And he also earned himself a starting spot in all the games before the finals. His resume right now has him as a 2-time All-Star, a 2-time champion, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, and a 6-time All-NBA player. To be honest, I wouldn't even be surprised if somehow he ends up being one of the top 100 players of all time. Anthony Davis and LeBron James are still a championship caliber duo. One of the guys that didn't get the praise that he deserves in this run is Anthony Davis. He finished the Olympics second in blocks, and if you remember, during the showcase games before Kevin Durant came back from that calf injury, Anthony Davis and LeBron were looking like the two best players on that team.
KD has not played, so I'll take that into account. But so far, the two best players are two Lakers players, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, right? So when you start thinking about that, I'm sitting here watching this game thinking, why are the Lakers so far away, or why does it feel that way?
After KD returned and after Embiid figured it out, the lineups later changed, but AD was definitely the more consistent big between the two. If what he showed taught us anything, it's that the Lakers are still in a position where they can compete for a championship if they get the right pieces to complement Bron and AD. Let me know some of your own takeaways from the Olympics that I probably left out. I didn't talk too much about Anthony Edwards just because he's younger, and he did have a good presence for a player his age. He had some good games, but he also had some games where his inexperience showed, like the game against Serbia with his turnovers, but he still contributed though, and for him, it was more of a learning experience than anything. I will say though, be on the lookout for another leap from him next season, just because he's been around so many greats in the game for this whole summer. But yeah, comment down below your thoughts. Also, follow me on Twitter and be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Till next time, peace.